If I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman? That or Goldfinger?
Oh.
You like that Superman song?
I'd probably go Goldfinger myself,
Goldfinger? I ain't mad at you. That's pretty damn good.
but
Superman track. That's pretty legit.
I just dig like the punk ska situation.
Yeah, I was going through that hard, especially when Crazy Taxi came out. That was my jam. But it looks like we are live, so there is nothing else left to say. But hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don. And if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason. And it's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you each and every week by ComicBookClique.com. And as always, I'm never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
I'm All-Star Asa.
All Star Asa is here in the building, but I think today you're going to be absolute Asa because we are here to
Oh,
tackle. We've been continuing this ongoing series where we dissect the books in the absolute line. It's one of the most popular lines to come to comic books in recent memory, and it's it's all everyone's been talking about. Last week we dissected um, Absolute Batman, John Escudero, humongous Batman fan, and I feel like that title is the one that's getting the most sort of attention. Batman notoriously kind of eclipses most comic book characters when it comes to promotion, merchandise, all that kind of stuff there. But obviously, he's not the only absolute title under DC's umbrella. We also have Absolute Superman. And in changing gears from dissecting Absolute Batman to Absolute Superman, um, John is a longtime comic book fan, comic book collector, super into Batman, knows all his lore. So we were kind of comparing our background with the character to what the character has become in this absolute line. But Asa, I heard a little rumor that this is the first comic you're covering as part of the Major Issues podcast. Is that true?
yeah, I've really delved in I guess every other medium, being movies, TV shows, and video games.
Yeah,
So this is my first official comic book click, I
yeah,
guess.
I dig it. I dig it. Why this one?
Honestly, like, so I've kind of told you guys before, like, what got me in superheroes has always been like video games and movies and things like that. When this absolute series started to kind of come out, I was like, I was captivated. Now, I have read other runs of different people. I talked about the Immortal Iron Fist being one of my favorite comic book runs of all time.
Right?
But this is kind of like if you gave me like what Zack Snyder wanted to do,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, efficiently.
Right, right.
Uh, yeah. So
What
I'm digging it.
the mission statement for a lot of these books is sometimes it feels like making what is perceived to be obvious changes to modernize these.
Mhm.
Um, Superman, right? 80 plus years old as a character. And with him, there's always a double-edged sword when it comes to his creative because there's some people who want to pick up a Superman book and get the Superman that they know and they remember,
Yeah.
right? Like the tried and true on the Wheaties box, champion to champion Superman. And there's been arguments for decades about whether or not that Superman has any relatability in the regular world. And I think that was kind of waning. You had to make fundamental changes to that character for you. Zack Snyder made fundamental changes to that character, right? And it rubbed longtime Superman fans the wrong way. It's almost like you can't win when in regards to this character. That's why I kind of like that DC didn't just reboot their entire line to be absolute. They're allowing the regular line to continue, right? So if you want original recipe Superman, he's there. You can pick up your regular Superman book at the comic shop. But if you want sort of a modernized take, you can go ahead and pick up Jason Aaron's Absolute Superman with Rafa Sandoval's art. Amazing, amazing book. Um, and I talk about this absolute universe sort of being like the key word in my mind when I think of these books is the word despite. It felt like the Trinity as we knew them, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, were all paragons of different parts of the human experience, right? But it was easy to be those paragons. There you go. Oh, so good. It was easy to be those
All three.
paragons given where they came from, right? Easy to be resilient when you're a billionaire. It's easy to have
Mhm.
love and compassion when you were born on a paradise island. And it's easy to have the best kind of I like it's easy to be have uh be ideological or optimistic when all you've encountered are people who look like you and care about you, right? Superman, while he has the alien experience and is obviously, people have taken the whole immigrant story from this, he comes to a planet and kind of looks exactly like everybody else. He literally is passing, right? And so
Mhm.
his love of humanity is the love of someone who's never really had to face the harshness of humanity or the worst parts of humanity, especially if you're not from here. And I find that this Superman is so refreshing in the sense that initially he is almost like an avenging angel for immigrants, right? Like he is a rage-filled,
Quite literally.
angry, um, um, just like a storm, like a natural disaster that kind of rolls through towns to protect the innocent. We're so used to like a Superman who's smiling and saving people from trees, and this Superman is not really that yet. And I think this is an
Yeah.
obvious arc that you can see where it's going to go. He's going to temper out eventually. What do you think about that first, that idea of Superman as like almost an vengeance personified for the most, I guess, ignored class in this country?
I think it's such a fun it's a fun new take on kind of an already beloved character. Um, kind of seeing it's kind of gives me like what if vibes, like what if he had experienced Krypton and then Earth. It reminds me of what his cousin Kara, how she kind of comes to Earth and she's a little more angry. She knows what Krypton was and what Earth is not. And she even gets you could tell she's a little bitter toward him for just kind of being all all save the day.
Yeah, yeah,
And I like that we're kind of getting to tell that story, the almost like it's a flipped narrative.
right.
Um, but I also like just before I go further with all these absolute books, I love how they're all different than the regular lore.
Yeah,
It's 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 very refreshing to be able to not see billionaire Bruce Wayne. It's very refreshing to not see Ma and Pa Kent take care of a baby, but you see a teenage boy arrive.
yeah,
It's such a fun new take, so they can do more things with it, or at least they can kind of flip the script on it a little bit and make us not have an idea of what's about to happen,
yeah, definitely.
especially with like the last like 7 issues of this
And
that I've
again,
read.
if you wanted to get into this, it has to be a relief that you don't have to do 80 issues of homework, right? That you don't have to read every Superman thing to ever exist to get the context in this. I think that's one of the most refreshing parts about this. I got a couple of quotes from creator Jason Aaron talking about the creative process of this that I kind of wanted to get over before we kind of get into this deep dive into Absolute Superman. And we're not going to be going issue by issue. I actually thought the easiest way to kind of tackle this story. A lot of this story is told jumping around unchronologically, in chronologically. One of those words is a word. And so,
Not in order.
not in order, Tarantino style, we'll call it. And
Yeah.
so, I've put the events in order. Starting with what happens on Krypton, landing in Kansas, and basically ending with the beef with the Lazarus Corps, introduction of the Omega Men, talking a little bit about the antagonists Brainiac and Ra's al Ghul. I feel like that will kind of encapsulate everything that we want to talk about in regards to this character. Last week when we tackled Absolute Batman, we completely stripped that car apart, but it was more so because majority of what had happened into the series up until when we read had kind of been spoken about in pop culture circles anyway, like the bane of it all. all the absolute Joker stuff was revealed, right? All the imagery by that. You don't even have to have read that book to kind of know what's going on, know what you've seen there. What I'm going to do with this one is we're going to cover the series up until issue 10. Issue 15 is currently out. So we're basically giving you a two-thirds lead in to this. But we want you guys to finish this series or just jump on and go for the rest of the ride so as to not be completely spoiled and still find a way to enjoy this series. But yeah, up front, I mean, first of all, look at that man. What do you think of the design of Absolute?
It's a little emo angsty for my taste, but
Yeah,
he's also like a teenage boy, so I get it. I was a teenage boy once too, 100 years ago.
I feel like in a lot of ways it makes him earn certain aspects that I didn't think were, I guess, not important until you take them away, like the blue, right? Like for the most part, this suit is a very
Yeah,
either dark blue or a black. And then you know he kind of gains the blue over time, and that cape, man, stole the idea of an AI cape that also works as a spaceship. What do you think about
it's
that?
pretty cool.
Pretty
I
damn
thought it
cool.
was a really cool twist on the cape.
It also helps him not be so alone. I feel like our regular
Mhm.
mainline Superman is very alone. He now has friends, right? The Superman family, the Justice League. But with Soul, I think that kind of changes the game there. But getting into the mind of the man who created this, he says, if I'm making Superman for the first time in 2024, what does he look like? I looked at a lot of different interpretations of Superman over the years and thought about the things I liked and the things I wanted to do differently. This is the kind of thing that doesn't come around very often. To get to create my own version of Superman to reinterpret him in this way. I want this to be for my time at DC what Thor was for my time at Marvel. I want to carve out a nice long run and eventually say everything that I possibly have to say about this version of the character. More than anything else, with this absolute universe is a small group of creators, a small group of editorial, and we're literally just making up the rules. We don't have to worry about the history. We're defining all of that for ourselves and what feels right for the story that we're trying to tell. We felt like we have a lot of freedom, a small group comparing notes, figuring things out. How do these pieces fit together in a cool and exciting way? It wasn't meant to be like, this is broken, let's go fix it. Stories you can't do in the other universe, very much coming out of the blue and standing on their own. One of my mandates to myself, um, everyone Superman meets, no one should be where we expect them to be because this is a broken, corrupted universe. Don't make assumptions about how fully formed he is. I would say he is absolutely not fully formed as Superman. There will be surprises how he came to Earth. You'll get those answers in the pages of Absolute Superman. I try to put everything I need in the script, my thoughts on how this world could look, the emotions going on inside people's heads, and then just kind of get out of the way and let Rafa do what he does so well. He's talking about in regards to the art. Um, and then he says, I'm genuinely still just having fun and doing stories that I want to see in existence. Doing the books that speak to me and make me happy. Fortunately, books that seem to resonate with other people as well. So my man makes no bones. And again, like that is a hell of a big shoes to fill, right? You don't want to be the guy
Yeah,
who trips over trying to trying to create a new modern hip Superman, and so you got to imagine that that's got to be a real heavy. And with his creation of Superman, he is basically able to tell his own sort of Superman uh, origin story. So if you haven't read Absolute Superman, get ready. We're about to do a deep dive into the lore that they've created in here. Spoiler alert for, I want to say, the first 10 issues. Most likely we won't be going past that, but majority of the core of what they're trying to do with this character resides here. And hopefully it gets you guys excited to check out further issues down the line. But obviously you can't tell a Superman story without talking about Krypton. And Krypton here is not like a doomed utopia like most places, right? Where it's just on a ticking clock. This is a completely failed system. And it fails because of the inequality and the denial and the elite, right? And their self-preservation. Um, the elves are not part of the ruling class and they never benefit from it. And Superman's distrust of authority and comfort with labor are kind of rooted here. I love the idea that these are the farmers that give Cal all of his good qualities. He didn't have to. There's something that's always been kind of
Hmm.
weird to me about like his family didn't really give him shit, and like, and so he learned it from regular humans, and then like Jor-El and Laura are kind of for most part forgotten. They do a little bit of like in Legacy keeping them around, right, to talk, and then you find out that they're kind of might be like genocidal or whatever. So
Yeah.
I like that. I like that in this they made them literally salt of the earth, dust of the, you know, space dust here. And one of the things that is like really, really harrowing is that one of the lessons he learns from the Krypton explosion, and we'll get to that in a bit, is that some worlds simply cannot be saved from themselves. And I think in a lot of ways, he is trying to decide whether or not Earth is one of those worlds that just, like, despite his earnest wanting to save its people and point it in the right direction, it just doesn't want to, And what do you do when you kind of meet that sort of
Yeah.
resistance there? What do you think about it being more of a caste system kind of situation here in Krypton with like the labor and science and law?
I mean, I thought it was a really interesting take. I mean, like, especially whenever like there's any kind of pushback where the scientists are like the highest, of the highest order or whatever, where like if there's any kind of pushback they don't necessarily like, they immediately cast you from it. They talk about how Laura Laurel, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
was she wanted to be an astronaut, and then she criticized them for their lack of interstellar travel when she was 9 years old,
Yeah.
and was then just her what science she wanted to follow was completely removed.
Yeah.
Jor-El had like a job, had like top marks, and he just said, "Hey guys, we're overutilizing Krypton's resources," and it immediately lost him everything just because he just pushed back a tad to the ruling class.
Yeah.
It was such a twisted way because usually I believe memory serves me, they're usually just part of it. They're all just all
Yeah.
scientists and they're all like cool.
Yeah.
And then so the fact that they kind of fought back and lost everything because of it. Because of some minor stuff too, by the from as we get further, we'll find out more. But
And
like,
literally some mining stuff later on,
yeah,
some minor stuff and some mining stuff
yeah,
going on there.
both.
Yeah. So yeah, the social value is determined by function in the science and law. You have the ruling class. Labor, um, what I love about labor is that that's what the crest is. That's the crest that Superman is wearing on
Hmm.
there. It's not an S for hope, and it's not an S for Superman. That is the sigil of the labor class. It's almost looked down upon on Krypton, and they they do they wax poetically about how it's the labor class that actually keeps Krypton afloat, and how these people, these hardworking people, work with their hands and they bend steel, and they are the people of steel. I really, really like this sort of impassioned look at the labor class, and I like that Superman is like knee deep in it and digs it. Like he's totally about being a part of the labor class. He's proud to be. Um, there's very little movement between classes. They will demote your ass, as you were just talking about with Jor-El, right? Um, and even though you would think that the ones all the way on the top know the most or have the best interest at heart, just like in real life, that may not always be the case.
Yeah.
But we got our boy here. The L's, uh, Jor-El and Laura, like you were just talking about, they're not part of Kryptonian's ruling elite. And as you mentioned, Jor-El was once positioned higher within Kryptonian society. He was demoted after raising environmental concerns, stripped of his status, reassigned to labor, and he works in the mines after this little fall from grace. Um, they instill this pride in being part of the labor people. Like I said, the people of steel, farmers, miners, builders, and these are the people who end up raising Kal El. to be, and he's shaped immediately by workers, not by science who are theorizing what he can be, or leaders who try to demand what he should be. Um, he's he's ruled by salt of the earth people, and I think that that's really cool. Jor-El, as we were talking about, he identifies growing planetary instability, and he sees that kryptonite exposure is killing flora and fauna, and all these mining accidents keep happening and keep confirming his worst fears. So he attempts to warn the ruling council, and they think that it's propaganda, and he ends up getting imprisoned for it. I don't know. Have you seen Don't Look Up?
I have not, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay, but yeah, that's what kind of like bugs me out about this. Like, this is very important. This is very important information that he's telling the council and stuff. And I feel like, they're disregarding of him. He's literally in the mines, right? Like, who else could tell you about how bad this stuff is going? But it's seemingly silence over survival. Uh, I would sit here and talk about the unrealistic nature of being presented with those actual facts and denying them. However, I think not too recently, the president said, "Well, if we're there's a historic cold front, and how could it be so cold if we're dealing with global warming?"
Yeah, I'm I'm really gonna try to avoid politics tonight. I know I typically go on my rants and my
I
anti-capitalism that
I
that
think
makes
it
me
I
so
think
famous.
I think a
Um,
bit of it
but
is
this
warranted in
was
this
really
regard.
hard to not do that.
Yes, I think a bit of it here is warranted in this regard. But you were talking about her, man, rock star, Dora. She shows up with a lava gun, come save her man, right? When he gets locked up.
Hmm.
I was you the first time you see her, she's working
Yeah.
on vehicles. She is an engineer. She's a badass. She rejects Krypton's obsession with order and obedience. She views compliance as a death sentence. She encourages Cal to question authority even as a kid. Um, Her rebellion is not like radical. It's natural. Like she's not like an anarchist, right? But she just won't comply with what she believes to be a system that is not benefiting her or her family. Um,
Yeah.
One of the most badass things is she's the one who actually invents Soul. She invents him, I think, at 12, right? Because you were just talking about the space travel thing. Like this was like a
Yeah.
toy that she created, playing around with the idea of whether or not space travel could be a thing. And technical difficulties, folks. Working on some technical difficulties. Folks don't want the truth. Feel me? We're back.
Yes, sir.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah,
So
I
did you get any of that?
no. We were talking about Laura. Go ahead.
Um, are we recording now? I hate to.
Oh, that's a good question. I believe we are, but
I'd love to talk about Laura Zarel, but or
let's go.
Laura L, but
Let's go. Three, two, one.
Recording in progress.
Now we're
there we
good.
go.
We're still streaming, so I thought we would still be recording. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. No. So kind of what I was saying was, I think most of my knowledge about Laura is basically she's just like Jarrell's partner
Yeah,
more than anything else. I've never knew her as anything, I guess, beyond just like a scientist at Jarrell's level, and then that was all.
yeah. So to see her here, being basically like an action star,
Yeah,
it's pretty damn cool.
being the Rocket Raccoon
That
of
gun,
Krypton.
that gun is
Yeah, it was awesome.
enormous, absolutely enormous. Closer. Yeah, and then we have our boy, young Cal L. Look at Crypto, chilling right there. We got our boy, young Cal, and Cal L. As a kid is disqualified from the science and law guilds for various reasons. I think they said he was uncoordinated, like exceptionally uncoordinated. I think was one of the comments that was
Yeah,
made in regards to that, which is absolutely ridiculous.
which is pretty funny.
He has like an inquisitive nature, and I just love that his family. Usually, in the trope is right that he's inquisitive, and his family's like, well, you know, keep your nose to the grindstone and don't ask questions, right? But I like how they play with that, and you have this moment where they are talking about, like his grades, and he thinks he's gonna be scolded because he was questioning, authority, and they're like, Keep up the good work," basically.
Hmm.
I like that he has that sort of uh influence, bad influence, whatever you want to call it. I like that his parents are rebels and kind of foster that in him. And again, I like that he's proud to be a laborer and he sees dignity in labor. It's not like, oh, why? There's never a question here of like from him of like, why do they all get so much and we get so little? Why is there a big
Yeah,
inequality? He doesn't see that. He just sees his life and has value in it, and there's something very important, I think, in that there. And I think he learns real quick that the rules, what is it? Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. I think
yeah.
that's a fundamental kind of lesson that you have to learn as a Superman character. Um,
One of the things I noticed about him was that he seems very soft-spoken at times. Like
yeah,
there's a part where Lois even mentions that like, oh, he can change like how his inflection, he can I guess code switch
yeah,
as
yeah, yeah,
needed,
yeah,
but but like in different ways, I guess. But like and I thought that was a really cool like where someone would be like, "What'd you say?" And then they'll just re-say it, but like they show the print as bigger as if he's saying it louder, which I
yeah.
really appreciate that like as
More,
a writing tool.
yeah. He's like more authoritative,
Yeah,
authoritative. Um, but if you know Krypton, it's just like finding out that your main character is getting on the Titanic. There's only one end here, right? So very, very quickly you find out that Krypton is basically being destroyed. Kryptonite, even though they never use that term, is breaking through the surface of the planet, killing flora and fauna, and um, Jor-El's like one of the first to like kind of notice. And when he tells Laura, that's when she's like, well, maybe we can use a spaceship and find a way to evacuate from here, which is illegal. They're not supposed to have any spaceships. But we find out that the elite are building their own spaceships in secret, knowing what's going on and preparing to leave the planet and leave the planet to basically everybody who isn't them. How did you feel about that reveal there?
it felt like again, I won't go on a capitalism rant, but it felt like capitalism.
Yeah.
But like it's funny, regarding situations like that where it's just kind of like, okay, let's say you do make it off. Who are you going to use as laborers to build all of your things now?
Yeah.
Like, like for it to be the smartest people on a planet, you sure aren't thinking about stuff.
I remember during COVID, there was all this talk about the possibility of millionaires and billionaires, sort of, how do I say, like coming up with like doomsday plans, like like
Hmm.
panic rooms and all this other kind of stuff. And somebody had asked them, they're like, but when this happens and all that goes down, what makes you believe that like your guards are gonna stay with you? Like anybody that you pay in a world where money doesn't mean anything, what allegiances do you think that you have? And that kind of speaks to this. I think it's Cal that says like, they made all of these ships in the dead of night, without informing the public as to what was going on or letting them help. Imagine what would have happened if they would have just told everybody. They would have gotten bigger ships that could have gotten more people off. What ends up happening instead is that when Krypton starts to get destroyed, the elves end up creating Soul for the ship that Soul ends up, inhabiting. But when the rich try to take off, they are basically mobbed by all the other classes, and every single one of the elite's ships crash. Every single one. uh, kind of
This
a
is
kind of a fitting end, a little bit.
this is very fulfilling, if I'm being honest.
It was to me too. And then you have this little skiff taking off in the Redlands, as they call it, right? In the farmland, where Laura and Jor-El have taken in as many people as they can. And I think we see a Kara in this. There's a little
The
girl
the
with a
baby,
headband.
yeah, I
Um,
thought so too.
and I'm like, oh, are we getting absolute Kara? Because I feel like in this series more than anything, they are really, really trickling in slowly. Superman characters. The big bad in this, not counting Brainiac, is a Batman villain, which is kind of interesting. How they were able to kind of work that in there. But yeah, um, those riots and protests when the elite start taking off in their spaceships would have never happened if Clark didn't hack the system and basically tell everybody that the world is over and the world is doomed and the rich people are trying to fly out
Hmm.
of here without without anyone knowing. And again, that's a moment where both Jor-El and Laura look at their son and with like a lot of pride. They're like, this kid,
Hmm.
he's going places, and that made me smile a bit too. Um, the Accepting that Krypton will not be able to save itself, they adapt Soul for an an evacuation procedure, hoping that people can survive. The plan is to leave as a family, and the thing is, even initially, when they start to present this idea, Cal's like, "You're gonna send me by myself," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of what that's the story, kid." Like,
Yeah,
I'm glad
sucks, buddy.
I'm glad you caught up, but that's basically what's about to happen. You're about to get sent by yourself. But they're like, no, we're all gonna go. And so I'm immediately like, hmm. Because when we meet him, he is alone, almost desperately alone on Earth. And so what happens in between them promising they're leaving together as a family and, him landing on Earth? Well, I think yeah, there's, I want to say, little Supergirl, her little headband. I like that they all have the same matching little jumpsuits with that labor crest firmly in the middle there. A lot of pride there. Um, it took me a couple of times because of how everything is kind of paneled to figure this out. But basically, what happens is the destruction of Krypton causes humongous chunks of the planet to go shooting through the air. And was that your interpretation of what?
But yeah, after I looked at it a second time, I was like, oh, that makes more sense.
At first, I thought it was meteors. I was looking at it the wrong direction. I'm like, are meteors coming down and shooting it? No,
That
they're
would be the
actually.
worst luck.
That's why I was like, this is no, but it's actually chunks of the planet because the planet is literally just being destroyed. Geysers of this stuff is just erupting on the planet's surface, shooting these humongous chunks out at this big rescue vessel. And so the rescue vessel ends up kind of breaking in to individual rescue vessels, but all of this stuff, just the pure on destruction of Krypton, is way too freaking much for everyone to stay connected. And eventually what ends up happening is Cal loses everybody.
Mm-hmm.
What is your over under on the L's being alive somewhere?
I think the L's, it would be fun. It would be a fun way to tell the story, but I just I don't think it would. I don't know if it would carry Clark's story. I guess he's still Cal at this point.
Yeah,
I don't think it would carry his story further unless he had already become the more traditional hope-filled Superman,
right.
where they could kind of re-trigger a lot of this more, I hate to say angsty, but like I can't think of another word for it. Like this alone in the universe feeling.
Yeah.
I think bringing them, uh, or if they found a way to save Kara, then you have like Supergirl and whatever. Like I think that'd be another way to do it too.
If I had to guess as to, because you're right, they're like, if they're gonna make a decision like that, it would have to be to serve the story, right?
Yeah.
It would be funny if they were to show back up and get to Earth and think he's not being radical enough, right? Like they're the OG fucking hippies, and they're like, what do you mean? You're fucking like
Yeah.
you're working with like this girl from Lazarus and all that stuff. I think would be super interesting. But we have this imagery. It's embedded in the minds of comic book fans and Superman fans alike of this beautiful baby and almost like a manger-esque spaceship, kind of calmly, falling down to Earth where he is found by the elves. This kind of turns it on its freaking head. Hal drifts through space for over a year and a half. And
I
as
have it
he's
written down.
it was yeah, find out that
It's
number. But it's close to, I know it's close to a year and a half.
it's like 17 months and 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, yeah. And Soul is searching for habitable worlds, and you can just see the toll that isolation is having on him. Just being on this ship and being exhausted and taking these trips around the galaxy and not finding any sort of semblance of hope. Right, the one thing that he embodies, he cannot find. And
Yeah, he's sorry,
oh, you're
traveling
good.
alone for 17 months and 14 days, only eating protein slurry.
Slurry. They're like, you haven't touched your slurry,
Oh.
Cal. He's like, what the fuck? No, I'm good.
Let me die.
Yes,
Like,
please. He does he not suggest offing himself in this moment? I think he says
yeah,
like, drop me off on the sun. Like anything's
yeah,
gotta be better than this. He's like, screw that, man. Drop me on the sun. Anything's gotta be better than this. And it's through the request to get ejected into the sun that Soul realizes, oh, dip, there's a planet very close to that sun. That planet's habitable. And crash lands in a way that makes me believe that it was using all of its power to just keep Clark looking from planet to planet. Like almost so exhaustively in relief to find this that they just kind of drop his ass there. And again, right? It's usually, nice little punch buggy driving down the street, and a little spaceship lands in a little crater, and then they go and they see the nice little cute little baby. No, no, this is absolutely the absolute universe. He is a flaming angel that comes down and burns everything around him, just crackling with energy, terrifying, beautiful. Ma Kent, for the most part, kind of sees him as an angel, and I use the kind of term avenging angel. I don't think it is by accident that they keep kind of showing Saul be wings. What do you think of that imagery that they're using there?
I did that. I didn't. I don't even think I even caught that. If they use it as wings,
Yeah, yeah.
um, I just thought it was really like the when he fell, he like hits like a sign and like bursts it all to hell. And like
Yeah,
I like that Jonathan Kent was like, "Oh, we gotta kill that dude, like kill
100%.
him,"
Like he is on fire.
Like,
Like look at that. That's
and then
absolutely
like she's like,
ridiculous.
"Look at him. His body's not his body's not damaged at all."
Yeah.
Like it was I thought it was really really cool. Like, but yeah, I'm gonna have to look again. I didn't even see the wing part.
Yeah, I think that you have this situation here very similarly to the elves, where you have these two salt of the earth people, and they allude both on Krypton and on Earth that the elites are doing weather manipulation in an effort to keep
Yes.
the labor people down, which is so dystopian and dark. But it's been something that
Yeah.
people with tinfoil hats have been theorizing for a very, very long time. So to see it happen here, that's one of the things that they're speaking about before Cal lands is how it hasn't rained in so long, and I think on Krypton you have to pay for it to rain. You have to give money so
Yeah, she
that
paid 3,000 whatever's
yeah,
like so
so
they're
that it
robbing us blind.
yeah, so it, those bastards taking it. But I love that he is disoriented and just dangerously powerful and appears to Kent as both like a miracle and like a potential threat. He is a tornado, right? Like he just, especially when they bring him home, he can't communicate and he has very big difficulty controlling his powers. And if you want to take the idea that very similar to other Superman lore, he's getting this intense kind of flushing of these powers, right? Because he's on the yellow sun, that all of these extremes that he has to deal with, he just kind of like causes a bunch of damage in his early days. I have this shot here of him in bed uh as they cover, Posh trying to keep Ma safe, and just the pure destruction. It This feels like the most, I'm not sure exactly what the word is that I would use. Uh, Unrefined? Like you can't keep him, like together. There's just crackling of energy and also anger and emotion, and he just feels like a live wire in a way that majority of the Superman media that you'll take in, he's very stoic and he's the guy that's not gonna flip out when everything else goes to shit, or he's not gonna lose his cool even when they're trying to get directly at him. But I love that we start with an imperfect version of this character and kind of you have to earn that, because if you are born good, what is it? Someone said, you cannot have a good life and a good character or something like that, or an easy life and a good character. You cannot have an easy life and have a good
Yeah, that
character.
makes sense.
And I think that previous versions of Clark had a good life and a good character, and that kind of is what made other people rub it wrong against him, right? Of course he has a great life, like he got the high school girl and he got to play on the football team, and then he got a job in the big city and got the girl there as well, and he can fly and punch through walls. And where's the struggle? Where's the mistakes?
Yeah.
And I think that in trying to kind of cover those bases, you end up having Superman snap a man's neck, right? In film to sort of illustrate that there's still some growth left to have. But that's the, like I said again, double-edged sword. We're trying to modernize this character. Um, they're having like this kind of barrier of language, but Ma is still like overwhelmingly supportive and loving of
Mhm.
this. I can't call him a child. He looks like a young teenager, maybe.
Yeah, I think I want to say like they mentioned how old he was at one point, and this is like 6 years later.
Yeah.
And
Batman, I
then
want
and
to say
then
is
the
like 24.
story in the present. But I think in the present, it's like an additional 6 years.
Oh wow.
Like he lands, and then so I think I would say he's roughly like 1920 in the present.
Okay.
That's just kind of how at least how I perceive him.
I've been 1920.
It'd be funny
That's
if I was
that's
wrong and he was like 12.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
that is the mood of a 19, 20-year-old though, right there. hitting puberty, destroying the house. What are you
Yeah,
doing in the
for
bathroom
real.
for so long, Clark? Don't ask any questions. But either way, am I missing something? Is he Clark? He doesn't get Clark,
No, I
right?
don't think he ever was called Clark at
No,
all. Yeah, because
no.
Clark is what they named him as a baby. He's like, I'm Cal.
Yeah, what up? I love that even I love that moment too there where it's like they don't speak for so long because he can't speak English. He can only speak Kryptonian. They can't speak Kryptonian, surprisingly enough. And so uh he eventually walks up to them and is able to be like, "Hey, my name is Cal." And he's like, I fixed your tractor." Something that they couldn't get fixed. I mean, that is probably the most realistic part of of the background of the Kents is that they have a tractor that they can't fix just sitting and rusting over and stuff. But yeah, like this is
He just
Clark.
carries it with one hand.
Yeah, yeah, they
Like,
but this is the olive branch, right? Like you brought me home. You've taken care of me. You don't even speak my language, but as a labor of love, as a message of love, um, I'm trying to help you. I fixed this tractor. I did what I can. But then he says, and I've also taken out the Lazarus drones that are affecting your weather. That causes them to have the first real big bout of rain for their crops. The thing that makes them live and breathe, somebody else controls. The elites again control. And so he takes that out and almost on a dime, someone drops a dime on his ass, calls immigration, and you have a bunch of stormtroopers in the Lazarus Corp show up. Fucking these peacemakers, these jackbooted thugs show up, punch Pa Kent in the face, take um take Cal, try to restrain him while they're beating the hell out of Ma and Pa Kent. It's a very evocative scene. Watching them try to rip him away from them. It's something that's going on right now, currently. So you know that
Mhm.
it is. It's one of those things that you could have written 5 years ago, and it would still make sense 10 years from now, because of just how the country, things seemingly never change. Um, and what ends up happening is one of the most heartbreaking parts of this series, where Hal realizes that as long as he stays with the Kents, they will never be safe.
Mhm.
And so he now needs to leave, and this kind of starts his like his life as a refugee, right? On the move, quietly helping but never fully settling. And it's interesting because that part kind of screams to the Man of Steel of it all, right? Like being in the shadows, helping people out, but not really wanting to be discovered, so keeping low. What do you think about the moment where that happens there, where he decides that he needs to leave the Kents so as to protect them?
It was probably one of the. I mean, this just ignoring all the reflecting things of today's society with comics and all this and that. That was one of the saddest moments to me because he literally said, "I could. This place feels like it could be my home."
He was starting
And
to finally feel that way.
as
Yeah,
yeah, like as he finally found, oh, I'm not home, but like I am home, and like this is what makes him the hero of good that we know him in every other bit of media, and but like he doesn't get that in this one. He gets like what, a month with these people,
yeah,
and then he got to get out of Dodge, and then he's just on the run for, I guess, up until the end of the story,
right.
or at least up until 10, which is where I got to.
Yeah,
So like it was just one of those things. I do appreciate how we see him everywhere he goes. He wants to help those who are being held down, like his family, like the Kents, like everyone being held down by Lazarus. Um, but yeah, it was very evoking of lots of emotions and
yeah.
not all good.
No, totally. And it makes you realize how much you take for granted the ability that you feel like you belong here. You know, I can't imagine not having my home and going out to try to seek a home that I know won't be 100%, but I'll do my best and I'll work hard and still being told no. Still being told there's not enough room, there's too many of you guys or whatever. It gets told to people who seek asylum from war-torn countries that we start the wars in. Sorry. I know you weren't trying to go on this route.
Now again, trying to avoid it.
I'm just but yeah, man, it's heavy-handed in the best ways. The Absolute series seems to be going out of its way to represent a new set of forgotten people, right? And a new set of threats that we actually are dealing with, not telepathic gorillas and stuff like that, right? But paramilitary and private security firms and immigration and like it just with Lazarus in general.
Capitalism.
Yeah, like Lazarus in general is just this big multinational mega corporation operating globally, and it obviously like represents the things that we know, like systemic oppression, corporate exploitation, militarized control of resources and workers, and we just see them running ragged there, right? Having them work in asbestos-filled mines, paying them, almost nothing on the dollar. People losing arms, limbs. I mean, you hear about stuff like the blood diamonds, right? In Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
And other, how we have like children making iPhones in sweatshops and all this other kind of stuff. These are the people that are forgotten. While we, even I, have a level of privilege, given that I'm not, that I was born here, that I, the amount of money that I make and all that kind of stuff. You sometimes lose fact and lose sight of these people who also exist on the same earth, but it's almost like two different worlds, right? When you are forgotten like that, whether it be by society or the government. A lot of people, like you said, or like we were just saying, are just trying to find their home and do whatever it takes to make ends meet. And whether that means working around in these asbestos mines, it is what it is. But I love that Superman is like one of the first things that we see him do is he clears out these asbestos filled mines and digs all the diamonds out for them. But then they almost seem mad about that, Lazarus, right? How did you do this so fast?
Yeah.
What do you? It's like what do you want?
Yeah.
What the hell do you want?
You should have worked more. Like, oh no, it was it's infuriating. I'm trying not to go crazy.
Again, I don't mind, but if you
there is a line in episode, Jesus, in number 1. It's from Soul talking to Superman, and he says, "This planet is full of combustion engines, fanatical religions, and thermonuclear weapons. These people are never safe." And like that was like where I was like, as I'm reading it, I was like, "Oh, this book's gonna make me mad." Like I can feel I'm gonna get angry about this because unfortunately that's entirely too true.
Yeah. My line was Superman is talking to somebody who is working for Lazarus, not working for them in the sense of like a peacemaker, but like is slaving under Lazarus. And he says something along the lines of, "I have seen the beauties and wonders of this world, and I've also seen corporations, commit atrocities. And I can't tell which one is the true version of Earth." And I think that that's a perfect place to start this character, right? Because he has to find his love of Earth. His initial welcome party surely could have colored his entire experience of this planet. But in staying true to Superman, there's a sliver of optimism, and the people of this planet are going to almost convince him of the best parts of this planet. And I think that that's kind of beautiful. I like that we didn't start him off completely rejecting any of the good that this planet had to offer. He did see that beauty, and maybe that beauty is the Kents, right? Maybe that's the sliver that he holds on to, knowing that he had it once, and thus it should be able to exist again. But I don't know. Like, do you blame his sort of hardline stance against Lazarus during this sort of uh I don't know what you want to call it, like pilgrimage
Yeah,
throughout Earth?
I kept wanting to call it a pilgrimage, but I think that has a point. I think he's just trying to save people.
Yeah,
No, I think it's just reminiscent of the scientific elite, and so I think he's just kind of doing what he can to save other, I guess, laborers like
yeah.
you know, around the world.
You
Uh,
just and I think
yeah,
it's funny because, or I guess tragic, whatever you want to call it, because
it's both.
Kal-El's Kryptonian council, like the ruling council, feels more like our old guard. It was evil or maybe malicious. Maybe it took advantage of the people, but it at least had a pretense or a pretending of civility while it lied, stole, took from its people. And he gets kind of fast forwardly put into the world we live in today where it's just blatant what he's seeing. He's just seeing peacemakers gun down people in the streets, right? And like this is not a question of I wonder if this is right or wrong. It's so blatantly wrong
Yeah.
um that he has to do something about it. And if an alien were to come down today, right, we could tell him all the things wrong about the country, planet, in regards to the ruling class and all that kind of stuff, and it would just be confused and be like, why did you let it go on this long? Which I feel like is a little bit of Superman thing. Like, this is just, aren't is this a planet just destined to, you know, be on the hamster wheel and constantly just destroy itself? And if that's the case, why should he stand in the way of that? But he does. Look at his badass.
Mm.
He does.
Yeah.
He does try to do his best to stand in the way in front, leading the charge. I I I feel for this Superman in a way that I don't feel for other Supermen because I think that equally to him, my hope ebbs and flows and wanes similarly. There are days I wake up and I want that righteous vengeance for all the people who hurt by people who shouldn't be hurting other people. And then there are times that I'm like, we can do this. We can pull together. Humans are good. Man is good.
Yeah.
And I love that he embodies both of those sort of aspects in this in a very imperfect way, right? Because he's not changing legislation. He's blowing shit up. He's just running through
Hmm.
like Lazarus, equipment trucks and all this kind of stuff, blowing stuff up, taking out peacemakers, and eventually, it ends up putting a bit of it gets him noticed by one of the agents of Lazarus Corps. Lois Lane. Were you surprised that our girl Lois is working for the Lazarus Corps?
Yeah, for sure. Like that was probably one of the it was that was one of the more fun, like, oh man, what a cool like spin on this story that we're getting. Because I saw Elaine and I'm like, I bet they're gonna try to like trip us up, and that's not gonna be Lois. And
Right.
then like literally the next issue was like Lois, and I'm like, all right, well, that was a short-lived that was a short-lived theory.
Yeah.
I appreciate how it shows her as incredibly and totally badass
Yes.
throughout this entire thing. Every time you see her, she's doing another totally badass thing. Up
I
until
didn't
the
think about
point
it like
where
that,
at
but
the
yes,
end,
you're right. You're 100%
like
right.
even at the end where she's going up against that Batman villain, like where she's mouthing to that dude. And
Yeah.
I'm like, God, you know who this is. Like, and
She's
she
about
doesn't
four
back down
feet
at
taller
all.
than him. Oh, he's
Yeah.
about 4 feet taller than her.
And then she threatens him. Like it was one of the like yeah, just as her character as a totally. I was like, oh, um, just fantastic. I think she might have been the highlight for me for these first ten issues,
And the
or
thing
I guess
is,
her and Jimmy.
I think her character might be one of the most important in this, right? Because again, Hal, from his background, him making the decision that what Lazarus is doing is wrong seems pretty simple, right? Like that should, why wouldn't he feel that way? It is getting Lois to turn that I think is the big sort of arc in this, right? Having her, someone who's fully indoctrinated, it it almost brought a tear to my eye in like in a sad state of affairs kind of way when her dad tells her on the phone that like fear is safer than trust or
Mm-hmm.
something. And I'm like, that is such a, I mean, you're kind of right. If you build walls tall enough, you can make sure that no thing could ever come in and hurt you. But then you also make sure that nothing can come in and help you, right? And I feel like until she meets this Superman, he is 100%, pro Lazarus, and again, due to her father kind of also being a man of the military and kind of instilling that in her, he thinks that Lazarus brings peace and security, and that groups like the Omega Men are threats. We'll get into the Omega Men in a bit, but she first attempts to detain and arrest Kal-El, even cuffing herself to him to prevent his escape. But despite hostility, Superman protects her from harm, complicating their dynamic. I feel like one of my favorite parts of this series is, and this kind of happened a little bit in the Absolute Batman, right? In Absolute Batman, I think one of the things that is cool is that the series starts off with Alfred as the point of view character, right? So it's just somebody on the outside looking at Batman doing what he's doing and kind of coming up with their own sort of thought process as, trying to take in what they're doing and try to understand it. In this, it's Lois, as they're still handcuffed together, right? As they're still handcuffed, he is going around because they get handcuffed. Lazarus shows up, peacemakers show up, causes a big ass point of destruction. He's able to take them all down, but their destruction causes more destruction, and then innocent people start to get in the way, like or in the line of danger. And so there's this beautiful page here where Lois is just with him as he saves human after human. And just in a series of a couple of hours of watching this man, this alien, right, go through and put his life on the line to save other people. Again, and the people that people forget about, the same people that that Lazarus is trying to arrest, or that they're trying to enslave and get them to work in these camps. Superman is going above and beyond, as he's known to do, to save these people. What do you think about Lois's time with Superman and getting to see how he operates in sort of how he does what he does, kind of like a ride along?
I was actually just bringing that page up as you were talking about it. I it was very interesting to see how even I guess to this point he's not like, I mean, he's still, I guess he's still all powerful, but to this point he's still actively keeping her safe
Yeah.
while also like taking everything down. And
Mm-hmm.
just the effects, everything he's doing is amazing. So much so where she's literally shooting that dude in the face with like a
Yes.
taser,
Yeah.
and he's just like walking it off.
Yeah.
And like, he stops a car from landing on somebody. He stops a fire, like what appears to be a church, like by blowing, or no, he stops a fire, and then as Lazarus guy shows up, he freezes them all, which is really funny.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
he just keeps freezing them over and over again. Um, I you see her kind of like talk about it, and then I have it in my notes where when she kind of is reliving that, she's like going, "This is what he did, and this is what he did," and her side notes like, and he smelled amazing,
Yeah.
and
Had to slide that in there.
it was just a really funny like where she's kind of, she literally is so gung ho on her focus that just what I guess what appears to be 3 or 4 hours, she's completely already flipping, and there's already some level of like there's something about him
Yeah.
that I thought, and again, I think she's my favorite character and of this whole thing. And even going forward, when after he escapes from there, and she literally is chasing him around the world, and
Yes.
she's like, he's in Pakistan, he's in Poland, he's here, he's going out, and she's just questioning people. how did he help you? Who did he hurt? Who did who did he help? And he like, now she's like, and no one died.
Right.
Of all of these big crazy events, everyone lived.
I think the
And
most interesting part of the interrogation that she does, trying to find out who Superman is or where he could be, is that she does it all wearing a Lazarus uniform. So
Mhm.
immediately, all the people that she interacts with are hostile towards her because he is the person saving people from Lazarus. So a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, he's great, and I hope that he kills you all." That's what I'm dreaming of. That's what I hope of. Um, there's a line, and I'm gonna butcher this one too, but I thought it was like some. I talk about like they say it in Pulp Fiction. What that's just some cold shit to say before you shoot somebody or whatever. But the line of like you think Superman is scared of you, but he's not. What he's scared of is the day that you make him kill you all. I was like, damn. He was like, he's not scared of Lazarus. He's scared of the day Lazarus is gonna push him to the point that he has to kill you all. And I pray for that.
Yeah.
We pray for that. You know? And it goes to like I get the imagery, the Scott Snyder imagery instantly, right? Of somebody like on the ground with their arm reached out, just praying for someone to do something about these obvious atrocities, and they have their champion. I also like that it's worldwide. He's gaining notoriety worldwide. This is not just we start off, I want to say, in Brazil, get to Venezuela at certain
Yeah.
points. We're not talking about just, the back hills of Kansas, which nothing wrong. But again, if we're going to establish this character as a worldwide phenomenon, this is the best way to do it. I love the sort of talking heads of, and, getting point of view from other people. That's really, really cool. Through witnessing Superman's selfless acts, Lois becomes more critical of Lazarus and ultimately aligns with Superman's fight. She's not inherently evil, more of an anti-villain, I guess, or anti-hero, a conflicted ally who grows into a resistance figure. She starts to question her role and begins advocating for Superman to others, including standing up to the abuses of the peacemakers. But she gets in trouble because she is supposed to report to the Brainiac system, which is what I believe they perceive as an AI, right? They don't
Yes.
think there's an actual Brainiac person. They think that they have a
I
high-tech system that is an AI that is to help them with all like their admin and their
yeah.
HR and shit.
I always thought it was really funny, like the Brainiac algorithm.
Yes.
And every time someone would try to use it, it would be purposefully inept.
Yes.
And that was so funny to me.
It has no
And it shouldn't be.
it has no humanity in it. You
Yeah.
know? We want to believe ours has a little bit more because it's made from humans. But this there's definitely a bit of um commentary on AI in regards to the Brainiacs. What do you think about how it was used in this? Or how Lazarus
It
uses it?
was it and that was really funny. And it shouldn't be funny. Like there's a part where like she's just like, yeah, it was, we couldn't do this, so whatever. And it was like, oh, so we should kill him. She's like, no, I just said we couldn't, like I just said he was very dangerous or whatever. All right, so we will start taught people to kill him. And she's like, that's not what I'm saying. Why are you and there's even a part where, like, not to go too far ahead, but where Chris Smith, a peacemaker, he's using it. Like, you can tell he's clearly suffering from PTSD. And they were like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, you're good. Let's get you back in the field. And he was like, I probably shouldn't be back in the field. And they're like, all right, we got you a gun ready. Your other gun's gone. This is a new gun. And it was so funny that,
Yeah.
like, the AI is just like, no, go ahead. You're fine. Hey, just fucking be tough. Move on.
It is that
Uh,
that spoke to me as a former soldier, right? Of like this like chew you up, spit you out sort of mentality. They literally like operate on the man just to send his ass back out into the field. Um, it's absolutely ridiculous. Let's talk about that a little bit. I can bring those crazy bastards up. The peacemakers. I love that they're being used here because he, as a character himself, he's been elevated, right, in recent years, thanks
mhm.
to James Gunn, John Cena, and stuff. So people more recognize the gear, the logo, the helmet a little bit more. They look like stormtroopers. They're just a ridiculous, like I said, jackbooted thugs, private military security, employed by Lazarus Corp. to enforce its will and suppress resistance globally. Essentially, a corporate goon squad with high tech and lethal firepower. They say that Lazarus tech is not from here.
Yes.
Is that a allusion to Brainiac, or are we to find out that there might be some other alien stuff floating around here?
I thought it was Brainiac.
That makes sense.
I mean, only because, like, not to get too far ahead, but later on when we have the special bullet, whereas like when he reached out to the Brainiac
Council.
connection
Yeah.
council, that's it, and like they just somehow transported him that level
They
of
like
whatever
3D
he
printed
needed.
it or something. They like
That's
3D printed the fucking kryptonite.
that's the only reason I would assume it was from Brainiac. But it was such a weird, like, I remember reading that and I'm like, so they just got it? Like put the you just put the things together and it works? Okay, well,
Yeah.
and I think we know how to make. I guess they don't call it kryptonite, but it's
No, they never
definitely
do.
green.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. But yeah, these guys are constantly these peacemakers are constantly in opposition of Superman because he's in constant opposition of Lazarus' operations, right? They are shown to be brutal. They are often indiscriminate with their violence. They harm non-combatants. They're armed with advanced weaponry. And they are just basically the symbol of corporate enforcement, literal muscle of a megacorp that values profit over people. And
Yeah, peace at any cost.
then I'll kill as many men, women, and children.
I will kill as many men, women, and children to keep the peace. Yeah.
And if you ever want to believe that the Suicide Squad slash James Gunn slash John Cena version of Peacemaker is the worst, no, it's this guy. It is this Christopher Smith. He is the absolute freaking worst. He is shown to be dealing with like mental issues, PTSD, incredibly violent tendencies. At one point, because he ends up taking offense to Superman. You know, Superman
He
like
laughed
stops
at
him.
him.
Yeah. How
Mhm.
dare he? How dare he laugh at me? How dare they turn their tires in that direction? That's a death sentence, apparently. And so he decides those are off. He decides he decides that because Superman embarrassed him to gun down a bunch of innocent civilians and to show them the way, to teach them. It says here, teach them that peace has a price. And so he indiscriminately just kills a bunch of people. And then, like you said, he shows back up to Brainiac and is like, I don't know what I did. You know, my weapon, I shouldn't have done that. And like, oh, yeah, because your weapon malfunctioned. He's like, no, I pulled the trigger. And he's like, oh, yeah, because you got a broken weapon. We'll fix that. And he's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I need help. And it's like, yep, we'll get you right back out into that field. And again, like I know what that system is. I know what it is to get chewed up and spit out, and then I've never been that guy, but you will eventually be the guy with no pants on in the street, yelling gibberish, and everyone says, "How did he get there?" You know, it's the systems that fail. It's the systems that use chew you up and spit you out. And Christopher Smith is one of those people. Even in all of his heinous acts, did you end up finding any sort of semblance of sympathy for him?
I felt bad up to him up until where he was like literally asking the Brainiac thing for help, and I was like, "What a sad thing." But then once he there's a line that he crossed where I was like, "All right, well, like fuck this guy," you know. But like I felt bad for him up until where I think he up until he killed like 23 people just because
Yeah, he
he's
got
like, "Oh
he
yeah,
was
you won't."
frozen in the ice, and then that's when he got out of the frozen. Remember, because he
Yeah.
doesn't know. He says, "What did I do?" And they're all on the
Mhm.
ground. So that there's that even scary dissonance, where he could be so detached, right? That it comes back around in that way. Eventually, he ends up getting some cyborg enhancements and stuff, and they give him kryptonite meteorite bullets that are capable of injuring Superman. He straight up does, but he's still unstable. He's still incredibly prone to violence. Um, and one of the things I thought like was super cool was again like in a I'm never one about evil Superman. I'm never one like to kind of be like we need to see a darker version of this character. I think that he is the light that lights the entire DC universe, so I think he needs to be quite bright. However, watching him tear through peacemakers looking for Christopher Smith was
Mhm.
amazing. It brought so much joy to me. The anger, the righteous anger, the righteous vengeance that he was able to bring. In most cases, that thing is a headline. People argue about it online and it's over, right? No one does anything about
Yeah.
it. Oh, that officer, improperly, shot a bunch of people by mistake, or that ICE agent did whatever, whatever, and they'll never go to trial, or we're investigating ourselves. Is the new sort of buzz thing, right? And no, man, in this world, Superman is your judge, jury, and executioner. He will show up on your fucking doorstep with laser
Oh man.
eyes and those wings, or that cape, and tear through
Yeah.
some bastard. What do you think of this sort of very unlike Superman scene of him so full of rage over what Christopher Smith's done that he's tearing through other peacemakers kind of looking for him?
I like in that in literally in the frame you're showing it says no one is laughing now, and I think that encapsulates that moment perfectly. Where like they'll again you see them uh maintaining peace at any cost or whatever, and like when you see him just tearing through them like paper, like wet paper, because they literally have nothing that could stop him.
Yeah.
Uh,
And he would never do that. He would never do it out of nowhere, even knowing
yeah,
that there's nothing that would stop him. He has no beef with these people, as a default, but they
it's
cannot
just that
stop
one
being
guy.
gleeful of hurting innocent people. That's where that laughing comes from, right? Like you think this is a joke. You think you can just do what you want because you are propped up. But the more I talk, the more, the more
Yeah, no, politics are not, sorry, comic books are not political, guys. I cannot stress that enough. How non-political comic books
escapism,
are.
refreshing
And
escapism.
oh man, I can never review a Punisher comic. I'm just gonna say that now.
My God.
Because it would be fulfilling in
Yeah.
the darkest recesses, not darkest, in the most refreshing ways. Um,
This
anyways,
this series
back
not
to
this series not only gives you a big bad organization, but it also gives you a bunch of freedom fighters, or at least that's how they are presented up front in the Omega Men, a freedom fighting militia opposing the exploitation and tyranny of the Lazarus Corps. Originally regarded as terrorists by authorities, they're led by Omega Prime. Did you find out who Omega Prime was?
I did. That was in episode 10.
Okay. I wasn't sure
I
exactly
I
where that cut
have
off.
I have notes throughout. I'm like, who is this person? And then right when there was a key comment panel that I saw where I'm like, oh, should I know who that is?
Wait, they
And
showed her
then I was
face.
right. Yeah.
There's not many people that look like her, and dare I say, and get kicked off the air. There's not many people of that shade in DC. And when
Hmm.
you put those two things together, it's usually only it can only be a certain amount of people. So that's what I
Yeah,
thought
there's
too. I was like,
four.
yeah, I was like, that might be, and we'll get to who it is in a second. First, I want to present them as they present themselves, right? Um, they fight to protect oppressed workers and civilians. They attempt to kind of bring Superman into their cause. They're led by their leader Primus, or Omega Prime, Primus. They
Great
are,
band, by
yeah,
the way.
they are great, but they did South Park, and they're rebel resistance against corporate oppression. It's through the Omega Men that we meet another member of the Superman lore, Jimmy Olsen, who was a low-ranking member of the Omega Men, far from his classic Daily Planet photographer role. He was motivated by a desire to make a difference in the world, dominated by Lazarus oppression. He acts as Superman's first real human connection to Earth because, again, Lois was trying to like capture his ass, and so there's ends up almost kind of being a fight between Omega and Lazarus over Superman. And then you have Lois, who is in Lazarus, but kind of wants Superman to herself. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so you're led to believe that you have both a evil, evil for evil's sake, bad organization that does what bad organizations do, which is wring out regular people for everything that they're worth, their energy, their time. their health, and just use it to build on themselves and build their own capitalism. And then you have the Omega Men, who are the resistance of that. Think of any resistance ever shown in fiction, the rebels in Star Wars, etc. The way they turn this on its head is you end up realizing that Primus, the head of all of this, is actually Talia al Ghul, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, who is the leader of Lazarus. So the resistance is being manipulated by the people that it's a fake resistance. It's a paper tiger, right?
Yeah.
Am I getting that right? How would you best explain that to the people?
It's a false civil war. We're battling each other, but they're just, I don't know. Paper Tiger, I think, is the best example.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just going like, well, you're on my side, you're on my side. But actually, I have the perfect one. In the U.S. Political system, it's the Republicans and the Democrats.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's pretty apt. And also, it's the sort of pragmatic, cold, capitalistic idea of not only selling the problem but selling the solution as well, right?
Yeah.
Like Lazarus gains traction and followers, sowing distrust and doing everything for the money, and then simultaneously, if you don't join that group, you'll just join the other group, and they're all kind of going to the same cause, which is something that Jimmy kind of has to internalize as well, right? Like, what the hell? You have two people in Jimmy and Lois that are both in organizations that they believe are doing the best they can for humanity, only to find out that they're two sides of the same coin, and they need to throw the whole fucking coin out and just kind of do what Superman's been doing. That's why I like that image that you have there, because it's Superman standing in between these two humongous world-defining organizations, and he is the core right there in the middle. That is all I got for our humans and our antagonists here. Now I want to get into the two big bads that they kind of set up in this series. We're already talking about one of them, possibly the most horrific version of Brainiac. What do you think of Brainiac in this?
No, I'm not super familiar with Brainiac.
Okay.
So I guess I'm just gonna ask you, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Sure.
Essentially, Brainiac is some sort of AI tech thing from Krypton, right? Like initially?
I think that is one of the most recent interpretations. Like a very modern interpretation is that he was the AI for Krypton that kind of went awry. I think in most other iterations, he's some sort of like alien that is going across the galaxy and trapping planets into little jars in an effort to extend his knowledge.
Like high evolutionary, but
yes,
like in a different way.
Yeah, all of these, everything is his plaything. He's just using the world to gain more and more knowledge. He has a menagerie and different animals and different the planets and people all trapped in these jars. But what's funny is that this Brainiac, like the idea of Brainiac in general is that he is like the smartest, and so his villainy comes from a cold, pragmatic, scientific sort of view, right? Where it's like he's just doing this to increase his knowledge, and the means justify the ends in a very weird scientific way. This Brainiac feels way more emotional. And I hate to use the word, but he is presented as dumber, right? Am I getting that wrong? Like, he's not the best of them.
He didn't seem like, whenever you kind of see his thing, and they're like, it's like, oh, you're Brainiac 498 million or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's my job? And it's like, you're a shoveler. You're gonna get rid of all these dead Brainiacs.
Yeah.
And then and he's like, well, how long's my shift? And it's like, until you're dead.
Forever.
And it's like, oh,
Forever.
like Jesus.
Yeah.
And and then just by some happenstance, he's just like, well, I don't want to die, so I'm just gonna power through this, and then he eventually clears out, which I assume is the other 400 million or whatever.
Hmm.
And then like it's just number one is left, and then he
Right.
just finds him dead and takes over.
I wonder if it's ever
Like,
going to be revealed what happened there in that ship. And there's other Brainiacs out there,
yeah,
as we
hopefully.
find out, right? There's other Brainiacs because he contacts like the council or whatever. And so we know there's other Brainiacs out, the collective, the Brainiac collective.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And I thought it's an interesting way to tell, but yeah, I just thought he was an AI. But then he was like part cyborg,
yeah. Well, he ends up.
which
I feel
also
like
kind of threw me off a
did
little
he
bit.
put those legs on? He didn't always have those legs, right? Those like horse, those metal horse legs or whatever that
Yeah,
he's rocking.
I didn't think so.
No, yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it says that he is a Kaluan, which
He's like a
that is
robot satyr.
that's always yeah, that's always been a thing. He's from Kalu, Brainiac, and it's an alien civilization obsessed with knowledge. He's originally a level 0 effector, lowest rank, forced to shovel dead Brainiacs into the Starship Liquidator. He's mentally scarred and he goes insane from centuries of isolation and meaningless labor, which is funny because like that could be its own sort of commentary, right? Like you shove these people in these situations
Mhm.
and close the door, and we expect a regular human being to come out without contact, without love, without any of that kind of stuff. There's a moment in which I think that he's talking to the council and he's not. He's strung up a bunch of dead bodies uh in the form
Mhm.
of a council, and he's doing his own trial of himself. He's waxing poetically about whether or not he's trash after doing digging up all this trash, whether or not he's trash. And he's like entertaining himself with these dead bodies. It's really, really just fucked. And he seeks
It's
control and
twisted, yeah.
he seeks he seeks control and dominance and preserves and tortures civilizations for his own amusement. He captures and experiments on beings. He preserves brains in jars and collects miniature cities and civilizations. Um, I saw him at one point in this, in a fit of rage, just start smashing some of the little cities, grabbing them and smashing them on the ground, stepping on them. Like I
They're
said,
like, he says, who is Superman? He's asking them who this guy is, that who,
yes,
like, why would they know?
I think so. This is a not smart person who who presents as the most smart person, who is ultimately a
Uh,
very, very lonely, very, very sad individual. And I think I think they might be making allusions to
did
certain.
Brainiac purchase X?
He might just so that he could be the coolest person on X, just so he could let that sink in. You understand? That was
Is
the
he
entire.
still? Like,
I don't know. I don't know how legal
that,
and all that stuff.
that's that's like being the best smelling person that bathes in shit. You're still there. I can't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like, not I didn't realize that until you said it up front. But yeah, I think that's why he's prone to these emotional outbursts, right? Because if I think if you had more intelligence, you're able to rationalize yourself out of big emotional outbursts. You realize there's no futility in it, right? There's not like,
Mhm.
what are you gonna change? He is a brat. He is a man child. He is a bunch of other things people would use to describe the person I think that they're trying to compare this entity to.
Again, this is Brainiac,
A
guys. This
Brainiac,
is no
just
one
Brainiac.
else.
This is just Brainiac. Um, I like him as a horror figure.
Yeah.
What I will say is, I'm gonna give a minor spoiler that I'm hoping makes people want to continue reading. There's one point in this series where Brainiac is shown looking for other sort of tools to use in this fight against Superman, and it shows him walking up to a house where the mailbox says Luther. So prepare for whatever that prepare for whatever that is. Are you surprised, before we get to the big bad of this, that we have not seen Lex Luthor yet in this?
He was the person I was waiting on the whole time.
Yeah.
like I'm gonna be honest, and I was really really embarrassed when I figured it out. That Lazarus is a Ra's al Ghul thing, because
Yes.
as someone that like loves DC and like loved the Arrow universe and enjoys Batman and like knows who all of these people are.
Yeah.
The word Lazarus did nothing
Didn't
for me,
connect.
and that
That's funny. Yeah.
did not even
Yeah.
once.
Right.
And then they show Ra's al Ghul, and I'm like, why is he? Oh, the Lazarus bit. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
I'm stupid. Like, this is the worst.
Yeah. It comes back around.
Um,
Well, first of all, I don't fault you for not connecting Lazarus immediately, because what it screams to me is it screams like every other sort of like tech company that just comes up with like a kind of flashy name, right? Doesn't really mean
yeah,
anything. It's just like, we are Lazarus, sure. Sure you are. Yeah, we are Meta. Yeah, they're like, whatever. Sure. Like, whatever you're trying to brand yourself at the time. Um have you seen Absolute Lex Luthor?
he's like a farm dude. He's like a guy with a beard, isn't
He's
he?
just a
Like,
ginger with a beard. Yeah.
just a dude.
He
Okay, yeah.
he is shown in they have a one shot called Absolute Evil. Not much is said about him. He gets a phone call, and that's all you see. That's like supposed to be the ominous thing, and then the next ominous thing is Brainiac showing up to his house, apparently. So that is something that will go through the motions. I'm interested in seeing how they subvert that. Right? Is he just gonna become the bald billionaire villain? I don't know. Like, is Brainiac gonna get to him? It'll be very interesting to see how they twist that version of Lex. But like you were talking about, the real big bad in this is Ra's al Ghul. He's the director of the Lazarus Court, effectively the CEO driving its global agenda. He is ancient, immortal, and supported by continuous Lazarus pit usage. He originated the Lazarus Corp as a company centuries ago. I think he said he like sold furs in Canada to fund it initially, as you do, right? And so he
Yeah.
he seeks to reshape the world by turning Superman into his ally, but more so into his son. He feels like he is the father
So,
of this world. He has inherited this world. He is his father, and he needs a son. And so he keeps referring to Superman as like this son that he is going to foster, adopt, and hope to use his like psychological manipulation tactics to get on their side, including the deceit via the Omega Man, right? Because he also controls the opposition. And so
mhm.
there's a scene in this that I had to like look at because I'm like, what exactly is happening? Where Raish is called by his board of directors, and he's speaking to his board of directors while an Omega Man shows up to his house and tries to assassinate. He goes to great lengths to beat up several of these Omega Men, and then there is an instance, and again, I had to look very closely because these panels are very small. There's an instance where one of the Omega Men falls, I believe, in the Lazarus pit. He falls in the Lazarus
Yes.
pit, he becomes a baby. Raish takes the baby and throws it over the balcony of the of the fucking building.
Yeah, he tells
God,
he's telling the baby his grand plan, and he just drops it off it, and like it goes to like the next panel, and you see like the building,
how
and then it's
tall
the
it
next
is.
panel, and it's the building, and someone is at the bottom screaming
Yeah,
because there's just a dead baby on the sidewalk.
absolutely
Like,
ridiculous that they included something like that in this, but I love it. I think it's great.
yeah, it was so twisted. I went, so he's willing to do that. Like, but also, yes, he is.
Yes. He is huge and he is intimidating, and he takes the fight to Clark when they do throw hands. That's one of the big sort of things that ends the second arc here. But I think it's very interesting to choose him as a Superman villain. It almost kind of makes you realize that he's kind of out of league with Batman. Ra's, if you're immortal and have all these other sort of things about you, like fighting a regular man, maybe that was maybe that
Yeah,
didn't make sense in the absolute universe, given what they were trying to do over there with Batman and those characters.
yeah, but has he seen how big Absolute Batman is? He might have a battle in his hands.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I like his little top knot. I like the beard. I like Like I said, like you were talking about, I like when he tries to intimidate Lois, and Lois ain't having none of it. We just saw him
Mhm.
give like this whole big bad CEO speech, um, when he does the uh phone call with his people, with his company. He does the sort of shareholders meeting on the phone. He is shown to be in complete control of the situation, right? When he deals with the baby, when he deals
As
with
they're
the
assassinating him.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
like they're here
complete.
to assassinate me. I thought I would call you and talk to you while this is happening.
He think he says the line was, "I think I thought you guys would like to hear me kill him."
Yeah. It's like, oh, all the numbers are fine. I'm gonna kill this guy. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, imagine being that guy who he's
Yeah,
fighting. It's like, what?
the numbers are good. Um, I think they said on the phone, yeah, sure, they are roaring in applause right now. Like the people who are bought into Lazarus are absolutely loving it. But what a juxtaposition to show him like that in a situation in complete control, and then show him try to use that same sort of bravado and intimidation on Lois to not have it work. I thought that was really cool and really kind of sets her up as a character who's not going to fall into any other, any more of this sort of brainwashing and stuff. What message do you think they're trying to convey by showing that both of these sides are corrupt, the Omega Man and the Lazarus Core?
I think that we're just gonna see Superman's a war with everybody. Like, there's not a the everyone's a bad guy. I mean
Ooh,
that in a
no,
better
I,
way,
I,
but
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Um, so what I've internalized that to be is that um, they are showing that Superman will not take sides,
yeah,
right? He doesn't
which is
want to
true.
hurt
He
everyone. Like he's not going to join Lazarus and take out the Omega Man. He's not going to join the Omega Man and take out Lazarus. He's not even trying to take down regular Lazarus people. He's not showing up at Lazarus Court taking. He shows up when people are being assaulted. If it was up to him, he'd not take down anyone ever. But I think by
yeah,
showing
there
these
was
factions and these hard lines, very similar to like you were just saying about this country, right? Is like, no, I'm not gonna pull you to this side, and you're not gonna pull me to this side, and you're not gonna pull me to that side. There is just a right and wrong here, and I'm gonna operate in those boundaries while you guys argue about masks and logos and
mhm.
this other kind of branding and other kind of BS that you guys involve yourselves with.
Yeah, there was so during this run, Chris Smith, the one who gets upgraded, the Peacemaker is upgraded. He shoots him with the kryptonite bullets or whatever, and then Superman goes to with the Omega Men to use the father box,
Yeah. Oh yeah, Father Box.
which was yeah, which was a pretty cool, like, oh, awesome, like how did they get that? But
Yeah.
then it's like, oh well, that also back to Raish.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Yep.
um, But whenever he's like going with them to help them do like a run to save people,
Hmm.
where he's talking to Primal or Primus, and he says, "You don't kill people while you're on this run, or you're gonna wish you hadn't brought me along."
Yeah.
Like, and she's like, "Okay,"
Yeah.
like all right, you're right, And I thought that was a really cool thing.
Right. Because
Because
he
you
could.
also
He's
that's
in.
a
He's a guest, right? So he totally
yeah
could be like, "Hey, whatever you guys do, do if you guys are on your regular time, just He makes a threat there. He stands up even as the weakened, person who is a guest in their home. He's still putting his foot down. It kind of reminds me of when Daredevil was like, "No killing, Frank," and like he was like pushing the gun out of the way
yeah.
to make sure he didn't kill anybody. I really like that there. Um, what do you?
um,
Right.
and like that also during that scene, you also got my favorite Jimmy Olsen line where he talks about like how he realized one day he's sitting on the toilet playing on his phone and realized that like if he wasn't gonna tell his kids he didn't get up and do anything like whenever things are going to shit, and then he's like, so the first thing I did was join the Omega. The second thing I did was get a vasectomy
Yeah.
because I didn't want, and I was like, that's pretty funny. Like,
Yeah. But I think that I Jimmy represents a whole bunch of young people, right? Who know that
mhm,
something might not be right, but doesn't know exactly how to deal with it. And in those instances, especially if you have little experience with what's going on in the world, sometimes people can quote unquote lead you to believe that the problems of this world are according to to be blamed on this and this, and thus those are the people who are your enemy. And it's so weird
Yeah.
how, and it's cliche to say, but it's so weird how they got us to aim our guns at each other when everything is going on above us and has been going on
Hmm.
above us. And this, I feel, this comic is just kind of an example of that. And we are meant to be Superman, not so rigid in our beliefs in which side we're supposed to be on. No side is worth it if the solution is to eradicate the other. I think I think that's an important, controversial, maybe.
Is it? But it's not though. It's like if the only way you can beat me is by killing me, one, you're gonna make me look really right because you're like I have to kill you because I can't erase your argument, so murdering you is the only option.
Right.
But like two, like that's just kind of like I think that's right though. Like, and I guess I'm going opinionated now, but yeah, like if you can't, we should all be able to discuss these projects. But whenever we have um, a bad group and a good group going head to head constantly, and then just at the end of the day, they're partners and they're able to get dinner together and they're still doing all this, and they're just making all of the small people fight. That it looks real fishy,
Yeah.
you know. Uh,
That's how you lose faith in these organizations, because you don't feel like they're
mhm.
talking for you or speaking for you or defending you. And yeah, like we, I feel like American comics, especially the mainline ones, I spent a lot of time on Superman, like helping out pretty well off people, and like
Hmm.
you'll hear off panel that he went to Brazil or Venezuela or the Middle East, and I really really love that this just shows us that he, because he didn't have an extended time in Kansas, he does not feel any sort of pull to just save Kansas, right? He doesn't feel any sort of like home team situation because he's never felt like he was at home. So every place that he goes to, even though he ends up getting pushed out by the peacemakers and Lazarus, he's hoping to make home. And
Hmm.
again, like it really makes me think about how privileged I am in the sense that I am home and I have a home and this does feel like home and all my memories are here. I can't imagine not having that, and I can't imagine how cold the world can look when you don't have that. I've never had to worry about it, right? So I've never had to worry about how the world looks when you don't have that. Um, uh,
When was the first one of these? When did it come out? Do you remember?
it was Does Wonder Woman come out after that? I can't remember what
Was
came
it?
out first.
Well, according to this, the
Absolute
first printing
Superman
was
number
July.
one was November 2024. November 6th, 2024.
And was that the first of the Absolute Universe?
No, Batman was.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. 'Cause that was 2023, right?
No, I think it's 2020. Nope, 2024. It's in October.
Oh, okay, so they were like back to back.
Yeah.
It's again not to bring politicization and everything because I usually do, and I'm sure that's fun for everybody.
Oh,
Um,
I love it.
it it is crazy to think about all the parallels from what just a year and a half ago when this started releasing to where it is right now.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny, it's depressing, you know, it's shit.
We and you talk about the boys on this. Me and you talk about Gen V
Yes.
on this, and we talk about how it's getting increasingly harder to parody what fascism or authoritarianism looks like because apparently our government is using those shows as their playbook for some reason. And so
Yes, please stop.
that I want to say I saw an interview with Eric Kripke the other day where he's like, I don't like that people are being like, oh, they're predicted this. He's like, we're doing the most ridiculous things we can. We're taking what the problem as is and thinking about what the most ridiculous evolution of that would be. And we just happen to be going down that road.
Yeah.
And there was a time where we thought our biggest issue was other countries coming in, invading, taking over and threatening our American way of life. And so the very prominent Superman comics dealt with him dealing with Nazis. I want to say there's like probably some very racist stuff about him going to Japan and taking care of the people in Japan during this time. But it had to speak to the threats of the current day. And this Superman has to now change who the villains are, because our villains are not people from other countries. They're not other soldiers who are being paid just the same way our soldiers are by the elites to go wreck shop somewhere. It is these organizations that dehumanize, that destabilize, that just take and take and take from humans, only ever seeing their dollar signs go up. And we need to find humanity. This is all of our home. We need to remember that it's all of our home. It doesn't just belong to the richest people on this planet and who live a completely different life and see a completely different earth than we do. We all should be able to afford the best of what this life can give us. You only ever gonna have one of this life. Life is one of the longest and shortest, most ugly and beautiful things that you'll ever experience. And you want to believe and hope that your time spent living is spent with love and respect and feeling safe. And there's a whole subset of this country that doesn't feel that way right now. And if they need Superman, or they need the imagery, that somebody will step up. I'm glad that this comic affords that. And I hope that similar to when that pro-war propaganda inspired, I hope that this Superman is able to inspire a different kind of person who recognizes the same issues that he recognizes in this world and wants to do something about it. Feels the Jimmy, acts like Superman, handles it like Lois.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm hoping.
Hell yeah.
I'm hoping for some sort of amalgamation there. What are you hoping to see, just out of the blue? What are you hoping to see in the future of this series?
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, buddy, we're about to go down a dark path.
No.
No.
We're about wrapping this up.
So I got to 10, and I really enjoyed where it was, or where it felt like it was going. I am curious to see if we have any crossover.
Okay.
Because I do know we have a Wonder Woman and Batman crossover.
Yeah.
And then so I feel like a really fun crossover, though I haven't read any. I've heard it's amazing, the Martian Manhunter one.
Yeah.
Another alien kind of makes sense as a crossover.
That would be pretty cool, yeah. Especially if that alien has any knowledge of Krypton and stuff. Be really
cool. Or the Flash. I've heard the Flash and the Martian Manhunter are the two best book series so far.
If the Flash shows up, then it's a race, right?
oh yeah. Yeah, okay, let's avoid that one then.
We'll wait on that one. Put a pin in that.
Yeah, that can happen. Like that can happen, like absolute, number 70. But yeah, it would be fun to see some Martian Manhunter kind of come over. Or I'm curious about Darkseid as well, because isn't that what isn't the father box from Darkseid? Is that?
Yeah, so the idea is that Darkseid realized through omnipotence that that the world that he was currently living on was structured so that Superman would always beat him. Yeah. So use all the energy that he could to make a world that is all full of his energy, which is the energy of the absolute universe. He doesn't currently it kind of exists, but right now all of his energy is permeating this world to be as shitty as possible. and thus all of its heroes are not shitty, but they start way underprivileged in comparison to their other forms.
So that's the absolute power event?
No, okay. Absolute power, which I thought was going to be what is it called? Essential reading for this. Absolute power is about Amanda Waller taking away the powers of all of the superheroes. But at the very end of that, you get the first chapter of this, which is once all the superheroes once they get their powers back, the Justice League decides that they're going to extend their ranks because they want a worldwide Justice League Unlimited. In that conversation where everyone's chilling at the Watchtower, Darkseid shows up combined with the Spectre, because he chose to take the Spectre's power because he wants to kill everybody. and then ultimately gets realizes like mid fight he sees multiple futures and he's like, oh, I always fucking lose. Okay, well, forget it. I'm done. We're not having this fight anymore. He disappears and then creates this other world, other Earth. And I will also like to say, if you're waiting for an absolute Justice League, the absolute Justice League of this universe, or at least the people who coined it in this universe, are Joker, right? Ra's al Ghul, Victoria Kale. They're the villains of this universe. And it's because Joker has realized that this universe permeates dark side energy, or what he calls omega energy, and that it is leaning for the elite to win. And so he believes anyone fighting in resistance of that is an injustice. And thus him and his elite are the justice to
that's
maintain
fun.
the order. yeah, right.
That's fun.
To maintain
the only
order.
thing so I got all the Wonder Woman and the Batman. I got series 1 through 6.
Yeah.
I think the volume 2's come out pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
But and I'll let you go. But there's a part where Jimmy Olsen says he's talking, and he says like some crazy super psychotic rich guy called the Joker.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But like it's this throwaway line where I guess obviously if you know Superman, there's a good chance you know Batman and the Joker.
Right.
But it was such a fun like throwaway line where he's just like he's insanely rich.
Yeah.
Psycho. That's the Joker.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right. So like it's fun to think that Raish, the Joker, and
Hector Hammond in
Cassie
there.
Kane?
Victoria Kale is, I want to say, the Wonder Woman villain. Hector Hammond
Victoria Kale,
is the Green Lantern villain, and then there was another dude. I for some reason I'm spacing on who that is, but yeah, it's the worst of the worst, and they are the ones that are going to make sure that this world stays exactly as it does because it is working in their favor. And who dare try to disrupt their justice? Right. So don't look out for any Justice Leagues. I think my thing
we're
is,
gonna get an Injustice League.
I want Supergirl. I want to find out what's up with her.
Yeah, she makes sense.
That's what I'm looking forward to in this. And I want to see if they ever establish and maybe they have by the time where this issue is or the series is, but I want to see if they establish a civilian identity for Clark, and I want to see how they do that. I feel like it's going to be done differently than will this Kal-El be content writing for a newspaper? I don't even know if he speaks English all the way. He's still learning. He's doing his Rosetta Stone every day.
So, well, he did publish that whole thing for all of Krypton.
Yeah, but he's good at writing. He's got to get a translator, Google Translate, and get his stuff out there. So yeah, I want to see what civilian life looks like for Clark. Again, this is not the kid. This is not the guy who went to Smallville High, right? He has none of the human connections here. Yeah. He doesn't have any other human friends besides Jimmy and Lois. It'll be interesting to see him become more of a human and what that means. And again, I still believe that if all that were to happen and then his parents were to show up, they'd be like, "What are you doing? Why have you decided to just sit amongst these people who are obviously like self-destructive? This system doesn't work, son, and we've just dealt with this. Why are you just dealing with it now?" It'd be very interesting, and it almost ends up kind of being a play on complacency.
I wonder if Soul gives us a Fortress of Solitude.
Did you see when he asked Soul to like give him a moment and protect him, and it kind of showed he wanted some solitude, I think is the line that it said, and Soul looked like the crystals coming out of his back. He's like kneeling or crouched over or whatever.
Yes,
and it almost resembles the Fortress of Solitude, but it's just Soul. I love Soul. I think that that little AI has a lot of heart and a lot of energy behind it that I think is really cool. That's also one of my favorite parts of this comic is just watching.
It has big
art.
alpha energy.
Yeah, and then Rafa Sandoval absolutely killing it. Every panel in this is artwork. Mm-hmm. The action scenes are explosive. The rage and the speed that he's able to show with Superman is amazing. I just really wanted to highlight some of the artwork in this. But I think that's all.
Yeah, he has one. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's all I've got on this absolute Superman. I'm really really digging where it's at. It definitely feels like it's paced a little bit slower than Batman, but I think, dare I say, it's
Yeah.
redefining more than Batman. So it's taking a bit of time, you know, to tell the whole story of Krypton in a way that, like, we told the story of Bruce's father getting shot, but like that's kind of matter of fact. It happens, and then you know we spent a lot of time on Krypton, kind of explaining who his parents were, that kind of stuff. It still feels 10 issues in like we're brand new to this. Whereas in 10 issues of Batman, we had already done Mr. Freeze, we already started Bane, the party animals, all that kind of stuff, right? It feels like this is taking a bit longer, but I almost like its pacing more because it sticks with you longer, in my opinion. But yeah, that's
Cool.
all.
No, I'm excited to go back there and finish and deep dive it all.
Yeah. And when we finish it up, maybe we'll come back around and talk to the people about it. But is there anything you've got left to say about Absolute Superman?
It's worth the read. Go if you haven't started now. You already get to 10. Start at 11 and go on.
That is a hell of an endorsement right there. I agree with you 110%. This is a series I think people should be looking out for and should be reading, especially if they need their daily dose of hope. If you are turned off by mainline comic books right now, in terms of feeling like they're cyclical and they are just on a treadmill sometimes, pick up this book. I think it might change your mind. It's really something special. Next week we will be tackling Wonder Woman, but ironically, we might postpone that to tackle Wonder Man, which as we're speaking is currently out with all of its episodes. I'm trying to figure out if that's newsworthy. If it is, we might shift some stuff in the schedule. But it's been a crazy month so far, and the month is not even over. If you guys haven't heard, we managed to interview Daniel Warren Johnson, who they are writer and artist behind the Absolute Batman Annual. They break that guy's arm. Amazing. And Transformers, the Moon is following us. He was able to sit down with us and have an incredibly candid discussion about comic books, professional wrestling, and the discussion, the production of that Absolute Annual and how he got there. So go ahead and check that out. And then yeah, we're tackling all the Absolute series now. We might even be getting some new comic book creators on to talk about current events going on in the world right now, because you just can't hide from it, and we want to elevate the voices that are choosing to take a stance, especially when you consider how much of their bottom line could be affected by them saying anything. I really, really want to sort of highlight those who are speaking as they should about current events in this world. Remember that every episode of the Major Issues podcast is available at ComicBookClique.com. That's the one-stop shop for everything Comic Book Clique, our articles, merchandise, and we have a international review team that is reviewing comics round the clock. We're dropping reviews each and every day from all over the world. Thanks to those guys for their tireless work. It's a new comic book day as we're recording this, so brand new books coming out. Iron Man #1, and then other books, like you said, doing some crossovers with like Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman stuff. Really, really cool. But if you want to know what we're doing at all times, just follow us on social media, facebook.com/comicbookclique, Instagram at comicbookclique, and use that hashtag comicbookclique to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things who comes to comic books and comic book media. I'm at Major Issue CBC on Twitter, and I'm also at Major Issue CBC on Twitch. We're getting our feet wet with the Discord at the moment. I'm trying to stretch out our boundaries. I think we're on Threads now. We're on Blue Sky. Check out those things. Look up Comic Book Clique and check out those networks there. But yeah, this has been a labor of love. Comic Book Clique turns 10 in April. So this has been a labor of love, and we on places that I didn't think we can go. I've met people that are now friends for life, and we've talked to creators that I never thought we would be in the same room with. That just means that we have more places to go, more people to talk to, more people to bring into the clique, and I'm super excited for what the future of all this stuff holds. So if any of this stuff has been entertaining, has been fun, go check out the rest of it. We do this as a labor of love. It helps that sometimes we get some monetary value from it, but to be honest, This is chicken soup for my soul. Talking about these books, talking about these characters, talking about these creators who choose to take a moment out of their time to give us some art that inspires. So that's all I've got there. Where could the people find you, Asa?
You can find me on Threads at Asa H. Griffith. You'll see my various diatribes of whatever I feel like going down at the moment. Typically, it's football, politics, or comic book stuff. Occasionally, it's Pokemon. You'll see me on CBC or on Twitch at CBC All Star Asa. I'm currently working on my MBA, so that's kind of fallen to the wheelhouse or to the wayside.
Yeah.
But when I complete my MBA, hopefully, I'm back on it a little more.
Gang, gang. So check out All Star Asa. Go back through our back catalog. Check out all of our previous episodes of the Major Issues podcast. Go check out the Cogs hauls every single week on YouTube. Check out our YouTube for video versions of these episodes here. And just check us out in general, man. We ain't going nowhere. We're here in 10 years. We're almost legal to drink. It's about to get crazy. So get on the bandwagon before the bandwagon gets full. We're going to the moon, people. They didn't believe us, but every year is a new plateau. It's a new pedestal that we're getting on. We're going higher and higher up. So join us, be with us, stay worthy, and join us next time for another episode of the Major Issues podcast. But my name is George Serrano, aka the Don.
And I am the absolute Asa. Boom.
I love it. I love it. And this has been Dissecting Absolute Superman. And remember, whether you're part of the Science Guild, the Law Guild, or the Labor Force, remember that we are the clique. Remember that we are stronger together. And always remember that you, yes, you, are worthy. Thanks, guys.
Bye.